Hey, my friends, it's Lisa. I hope you're all doing well. This is part 2 of the Autumn Junk Journal. I had to do this a little differently. Right now in the video here, I am trying to make envelopes. I'm going to put them in the journal to collect leaves. Of course, if you have an envelope punch board, you sure can use it now to make envelopes that actually, fit the journal. I just took out one of these envelopes that I had from junk mail, and I, opened the envelope up and used it as a template to create a couple other envelopes. Here I'm just cutting them out of the paper, trying to use the cutting board to make everything straight. Also putting in lines where the folds are supposed to be. This way it could be somewhat accurate. Now I'm just cutting out the corners so that it could be folded properly. And I rounded the corners. I did not glue these together at this point. I just made sure everything was folded properly, because I do want to decorate them. I'm not going to glue them together yet. I'm just using Mod Podge and some napkins that are fall themed, and we are going to cover the envelopes, the outside of the envelopes, with the napkins. Typical collage type application. I think I got these at the dollar store, the napkins, that is. I'm doing this because I didn't use the yellow envelopes because they had black writing on them, and I had other ones that, were empty and never used, but they had the black writing on them too, and the insides of the envelopes were like that, so you can't read through it material or design on it. And I wanted to use the napkins because I don't have enough scrapbook paper that is fall leaves themed. And so I decided to make my own out of sketchbook paper, and then just cover them with the napkins. I'm just going to let this dry, and then I folded them all up and put them under heavy books to flatten out somewhat because they were a little warped. Here I'm going through all the papers that I want to include. There's 3 signatures. I was thinking of doing one signature for maple leaf shaped leaves. The second was for the oak leaf shaped leaves. And then the third would be a miscellaneous. I have all different kinds of papers. I have coffee dyed papers, tea dyed papers. I did do some papers that I took out of a coloring book that had leaves on them. The only reason I took them out of the coloring book was to include them because the coloring book, I did not like the actual texture of the paper to color on, but it's great. I've been using it in certain journals off and on because they are large sheets of paper. The paper you see here is eco-printed paper. I got the idea from watching Nik the Booksmith. She has a whole video on it, and I decided to take her recommendations and do it that way. I also took book pages and cut out the important information from the book pages that I have in nature books and stuff. You'll see there all about different trees, and I did a lot of the maple trees, I did the oak trees, and then I threw in a couple other kind of trees. This way we can make the signature up. Here I'm just going through and checking the order of the pages and seeing, how to put them in. What I was trying to do was do the eco printed page, then a coffee dyed page or whatever dyed page. I also added in tracing paper. I added those envelopes that we made, color book pages, and just organized them the way that I wanted them to look. I did put the envelopes in the center of each signature. And they were in there sewn in. There's the tracing paper that I'm going to add. But sometimes I don't like, if I have like special pages like the eco printed pages, I don't really want anything touching them. So I'll put a piece of tracing paper in between that and say, a different page that has, like, say, stamping on it or something. Because I don't want the stamping to rub off on that eco-printed page. Or whatever page, special page, we'll say. I'm just trying to figure out where to put those papers now. And just folding up some more pages to add into each signature. I just wanted to let you know that I did have the eco printed pages and the dyed papers. I did them months and months ago, probably in the beginning of the year. So I do, I've had all that. It's nothing that I've done this time. The eco printed pages, I believe we have to use vinegar for that. Whatever we used, it stunk. So those papers, if you want to do that technique, you do have to let them air out. So they've been sitting in my closet airing out for months now. And I almost forgot about them. The only reason I remembered was because I was digging through my closet trying to straighten everything up. And I found them. I was so excited because I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot. I would have been so upset if, I found them like months from now and didn't incorporate them. So, it's when you can do it, if you like to do that kind of thing, do a whole bunch if you can, all at once. Do, if you're going to, do the onion skin dyeing or avocado seed dyeing, onion dyeing, whatever. Do a whole bunch of it until you run out of paper or you run out of the dye or whatever. This way, everything can air dry, which I find holds the color better. Also, you need it to, the smell to dissipate, especially if you're using onion skins or vinegar or cabbage, anything that has a strong smell. You want to let air out for quite some time, especially if you're giving the thing away, the journal away to somebody. This is just for me. So even if, I didn't do this months and months ago, I wouldn't care because it's personal. It's a personal journal. All right, here I am trying to get all the signatures in the cover and realizing that the cover is not big enough. I'm just trying to measure how high or how wide the book would be. This way I can, try to adjust the cover to fit properly. I realized that I'm going to have to add in another paper. And thank goodness I had two papers that were the same. And I'm just trying to measure out where the middle of the book, or where the sewing would have to be, where the seams are of each signature. That width there of them all together. Looking back now, I think I made it a little too big. The spine of the book is what I was talking about. Just trying to mark out where the spine should be. I'm just folding the paper to make the spine. I'm going to bring in the second piece of paper to extend the back of the cover. Here I'm just gluing that second sheet to extend the cover. I kept that seam there on the back of the journal, and I'm just gluing it down. I use the art glitter glue instead of glue stick because I really want it to, stay together. I don't want anything coming undone. Looking back, I really should have included some cardboard in here. So, the cover should have been cardboard. I should have made it cardboard. I was being lazy, but I didn't want to, take all that time and do that. But I think the journal turned out too large to be, with just scrapbook paper as the cover. Instead of cutting the back, that whole sheet of scrapbook paper, I folded it in to make a large pocket in the back. This way, if I had anything I needed to put in there, I could do so. I could even have made a writing board and slipped it in there. This way it would have been a little better, more sturdy in the back, on the back cover. So I was just lining everything up in this thing, in this segment, so I can fold it on over. And I'm just going to get the signatures to double check, because I still do have to cut some off at the top, because the paper is, the scrapbook paper is longer than the pages of the signatures. Alright, so everything looked good to me, so I had to start folding, really getting that crease in. Well, I just trimmed off a little ratty looking piece here because I think it got all messed up and ripped a little bit. But I go through every single paper of every single signature and do this. It is time consuming. However, I find that it really does help get the papers more lined up and, one inside the other much more evenly than if I didn't do it. So I just go through every single one and do that. All right. Now that all those papers are folded and put back in together in the right order, we are going to start making sure that they're all in the right order. And because I think at some point I had them upside down and I panicked because I thought I made the holes in the wrong spot. I was not. I was just upset thinking I did it all crooked. So we're going to poke the 3 holes in. This way we can do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. It's the easiest one to do. You also, well, I personally didn't realize for some reason that some of the pages were shorter than others. So I noticed that at some point, but it was okay by that point. Everything I think pretty much got sewn in properly. Now I'm basically I made 3 holes in them, where all the pages come together. And I took my waxed thread that I got with one of my bookbinding kits that I got on Amazon. I'm just trying to thread the needle or find the needle. Just choosing a larger size needle. I think these did come with the set. But even if you have a like a yarn needle, they usually work well. You know, honestly, if you don't have any needles, you just poke a hole and try to thread it through all the way through. You're good to go. That is a difficult thing to do, but you got to do what you got to do. When I thread the needle, I just I don't tie a knot. I don't knot the 2 pieces of thread when they come through. I leave one that's smaller and the other side of the thread is longer, and they're untied. And then you just go through the middle stitch or the middle hole. Usually what I like to do is make a hole in dead center of the pages. Then I'll go maybe a half inch from the top and make a hole, and then do the same thing at the bottom. Go a half inch up or even an inch up, depends on the paper and how much, room you have. And then you go through the inside part, go through that to the outside part. And sometimes, I think this is where I realized I thought I did it upside down. But sometimes you have to guide the needle through each page. And I usually do make the holes prior to getting the needle going. This way, just poke a hole right through everything. But I guess you don't have to do that, I guess. You can just work it through as you put the string through. I don't know why this technique, took me so long to figure out. Even here, I was still kind of unsure if I went from the inside out with the needle or the outside in. But I found going from the inside out, then you go out through that hole and up to the top hole. This is how I did it. Oh yeah, you also have to remember to put, you're attaching it to your cover. So all those holes should be already made and ready to go. This way you can just bring your needle through. And then I usually go up to the top hole. And I go from the outside in through the top hole. Just make sure you're going through the right hole to the right signature. And sometimes it gets a little difficult or confusing, or the holes aren't in the right spot. But just take your time and everything will go well. Now here I got a little goofy because it just would not go through the pages right. So I think I had to wind up doing everything individual pages, or a couple pages at a time, to make sure that the needle got all the way through. Because you don't want it to skip anything. Then the pages, that page that you skipped obviously isn't going to be secure enough. So we just go through and take our time, double check and make sure you got everything lined up right. And then you come out the top pole on the inside and you go, well, we'll wait till that gets there, I guess, right? I'm sorry I had to do this voiceover. I've been trying to do this editing for the past 5 hours, and it just was so scattered, and multiple videos I had to splice together, and it was just easier to do the voiceover. Alright, so we got the needle through the middle, or through the top hole on the inside. Now we're going to go all the way and stretch that needle all the way down to the bottom hole and go out the bottom hole. We're going to go out. We're going to just adjust the strings. And always remember that middle string is just waving in the wind. There's nothing holding it there, so be careful that doesn't come out. Always leave enough string behind. This way it doesn't come sliding out and and you just mess that all up. It's easy to fix, of course. And now I'm going to the bottom hole, out to the outside of the journal, and then I'm going to come up through that middle hole from the outside to the inside. I'm just making sure everything's tight. And now I'm going up through that middle hole where we started. We're going to go all the way through there and come out in the middle of the book. We want to catch that string in the middle of where you originally took the needle and went down in that hole. There's going to be that leftover string on one side, and then once you come up through that hole here, you got to go on the other side of the string, and then you come up through there. Other people have much better videos on exactly how to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I'm not showing it good here, and I'm sure as heck not explaining it very good either. The most important thing, I did the first journal I ever made. I think I forgot the cover. I sewed everything together except for I never put the thing. I never attached the signature to the actual cover. Yeah, that was depressing because then I had to redo, like I had to cut the strings and redo it all. It was silly. So I'm just making sure, going through, making sure every page is attached and, you know, together. Everything's together and lined up the way I wanted it to be. Making sure that envelope got there, how I wanted it. And that it was fully attached because it will be holding our leaves. And there we go. Up through the middle. I'm just trying to adjust. Oh no. Oh, I know what I did. I went through the string. When I came up, I went through the actual thread. Sometimes if you're doing like crochet and stuff, you can actually go through the threads of the yarn. Well, that's pretty much what I did here. And now I'm just gonna, I do the surgeon's knot to get this knotted on the cover. And I will continue to do the next 2 signatures and get them all in right. This is the end of the second part. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button and consider subscribing to see when I upload part 3 of the journal. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.